Hello and welcome to FYI, Grand Prairie's own news and information talk show. My name is Andrew. I'm going to be your host, and today on the show we've got a lot going on. We've got Mayor Bill Gibbons stopping by. We've got a panel discussion on Grand Prairie's growth and how to handle it. And also, we've got fire performers coming to the show. The show is brought to you by C.I.A. Solutions, by Dark Mass Productions, by the Showcase Center, and by Town Center Furniture. Well, so let's start this off. Let's welcome to the stage Doug and Susan Thompson. They're the founders of Circus of Hell.
Thank you.
All right, guys, thank you very much for coming into the show today. So you guys are fire performers, correct?
That's correct.
Right. And what exactly is a fire performer?
Somebody who loves to play with fire and sort of learns to do it professionally so that you get paid for it and becomes more of a job.
Yeah, well, I mean, the biggest thing is fire performing. It's the biggest thing, actually, I think, is the performance of it. It's an expression of our passion, our romance, and art. Just like theater, but imagine everything on fire.
And how did you guys get into fire performing?
I started off as a belly dancer, actually, just to lose weight after we had our kids. We've got two beautiful daughters, and I fell in love with it. And we started learning to dance with candles. And you can eventually work up to having a candelabra balanced on your head or a tray of candles. And
I thought that was pretty lame, and
yeah,
you got bored.
I kind of got bored with it. It wasn't enough.
We watched some YouTube, and it's like, what's that?
Yeah, some dancers had fire fans, which are these fans with fire wicks on them, way bigger fire. And he's a welder, and he is a pyro, so I had the perfect person, and I asked him, can you make me these? And he did, and the rest is history. We've just never looked back.
Then through, many different places that we go, we meet other artists and performers and see what they do and go,
learn from them.
And,
At this point, we've taken courses, we've taken workshops.
Yeah, many courses from many friends of ours, including Ryan Stock and fire eating
Really?
and fire breathing.
Yeah, Guinea Pig, he lives in Edmonton, so he and
good friends
Amber
of
are
ours.
fantastic teachers and really recommend anybody who wants to get into it, learn from them.
We know a lot of exceptional fire performers, so we often go to Edmonton and support them and take courses and et cetera, et cetera.
But you guys are also the founders of Circus of Hell, and you're teaching others to do this as well. And from what I hear, you also have a few things that are very unique to your show. Could you tell us a bit about some of those things?
Well, everybody has their own different styles. One of our styles is something, we bring it in a lot closer.
We play with it more. A lot of people you'll see will wear gloves and stuff to protect themselves, which of course is sensible. You don't want to burn. But we actually like to do a lot more transfers, so we actually have the fire on our bodies. I don't know if you can see, but I have a nice scar here from learning to do that. Yeah. It's like a 3-pronged scar. And Doug,
I've coined the Devil's Prayer, where I actually come and I light both my hands on fire and spit while my hands are on fire.
Doug's a fire breather, which is actually one of the most dangerous types of fire performers you can be, and very few people do it.
Because the chance of breathing in, setting your face on fire. Oh yes, I've done that.
Too many times. Of dying.
And you live, you learn.
Yeah, we put our lives and our bodies on the line every time we perform. And in this clip, you might have noticed a trick we're really proud of, which is our performer Ava, who can do fire eating, which is a good skill in itself, eats fire, and then Doug actually breathes fire off of the flame coming out of her mouth. And that's a very rare trick, and it's difficult to achieve.
Not many people, usually fire breathers are alone by themselves because they're like, we need a lot of room, but I like to involve my wife and other people around, so we'll be fire performing around, la la la.
Off of my head. And it's funny because the most terrifying thing is the unspent fuel. It's feeling when he spits off of, like, say, a sword on my head, I get covered, or Ava gets covered on her face in this wet stuff that you think might be on fire. So you actually have to learn as a performer not to flinch, to control your face.
Lots of trust.
When we first started doing that, we got pictures taken by a photographer here in Grand Prairie, and all my pictures were like, that's part of being a performer. You have to learn to perform. You are doing a performance, you never let them see you sweat.
Yeah. Well, let's take a look at a bit of this performance, and then we'll talk about how you can get into it, how people get into it, and how we can see you guys perform. Wow, guys, I gotta say, that's insane, and that's incredible what you guys do. But if someone was to come up to you right now and say, how do I get into this? What would you tell them?
Practice. How do you get to Carnegie Hall? You practice. There are a lot of people who, how a lot of people start as spin jams, where you actually start with unlit props. So say you want to learn hoop, you want to learn fans, you want to learn, and you start with the unlit stuff, and you get together with a group of your friends and you practice. And you might look at YouTube.
We don't just show anyone. It's one of the arts that we have to be very cautious on who we show. You start liabilities. You
start without fire, you build up to fire, and when you're getting to the point where you're going to actually be performing it and learning it, you should learn from a professional if you can. And always do it with other people, because obviously it's a safety risk. We never perform alone, and neither should anybody learn alone.
Or always we never perform alone. We never perform without safeties. We never perform without proper fueling stations. We take the absolute safety every time. We've seen a lot of bad things. I've had a lot of bad injuries. It's not something that we like to support, so safety is the biggest thing every time.
Safety and learn
because you get burnt every single time.
Yep.
I could show you, and my wife could show you, a scar for every show we've ever done.
Or almost, yeah.
Pretty much.
And we're pretty good now, but when you're learning, you do burn yourself. And you could burn other people, you could burn other people's property, so just learn from the pros.
And speaking of performances, if we wanted to see you guys perform, when do you think our next opportunity would be?
I believe next one would quite possibly be...
And we do private performances, we do festivals, we do... we're hoping actually to have a stage show this spring, so watch out for that. We're hoping to do a short tour where we have a show in Peace River, Grand Prairie, and up north in High Level, possibly also BC. At this point, we perform all over northern Alberta and northern BC, so watch our Facebook at facebook.com/Circus of Hell, and we'll always post what's coming up.
And potentially our upcoming TV show.
Nice. Oh, did we let a cat out of the bag?
Yeah.
Well, guys, thank you so much for coming by. Once again, Circus of Hell, if you guys want to see some more of that, check out their Facebook page. If you want to learn more, if you want to be a part of it, or if you want to see a performance, or maybe even book a performance, that's where you'll find them. Thank you guys so much, and we've got Mayor Bill Given coming up next.
Not fitting in at those other bars? Come down to the Walking Dead Marathon on Sunday nights, where everyone is welcome, even zombies.
Hello and welcome back to FYI, Grand Prairie's news and information talk show. My name is Andrew, I'm your host, and we've got an incredibly special guest for our very first show. I'd like to welcome to the stage right now, Mayor Bill Given.
Hey Andrew, how you doing?
Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, good to see you. All right.
Hey Bill, once again, thanks for coming by and thanks for joining us today. I don't know if this is starting it off with a hardball question or not, but what do you believe is the biggest issue facing Grande Prairie right now?
You know, I think it has to do with growth, obviously. Grande Prairie is a community that goes through these up and down swings of population growth. And ultimately what that means is we have so many newcomers to our community that don't necessarily have that same connection to Grande Prairie that they would if it was their hometown. We've seen that over the years, you know, as you go and talk to people, there's so many people across our community that'll tell you, well, I came to Grande Prairie on the 2-year plan. I was going to go up north, I was going to make some money, and when you speak to them, it's 17 years later or 20 years later, and they're saying that they're not going to be leaving because their grandkids are still here. So I think it's a challenge Grande Prairie's faced before. It's a challenge that Grande Prairie's faced successfully before. And something that we've got to do today is to find some way to ensure that these people that are new to our community, that are going to continue to come, that they feel at home here, that they feel a sense of pride, a sense of ownership, and they can eventually feel that Grande Prairie is their city.
And so what do you feel is being done right now to engage those people?
Well, over the last little while, some of the work that the city has done has been focused on building neighborhood associations and neighborhood safety teams. We really see that as a way to bring neighbors out of their houses and share events and functions up and down the street, and also to give neighborhoods an opportunity to have some control over their own destiny. You know, each neighborhood has its own unique flavor and character, or at least we'd like it to. And neighborhood associations allow people that live up and down the street to decide what they want the character of their neighborhood to be. And we really feel that it gives people an opportunity to come together and share. And once you start to build those connections from household to household, people will end up looking out for one another, they'll end up supporting one another, and I think that that's probably the best way that we're going to be able to build community.
When you speak about creating those connections, I think we have an interesting dynamic in this city in the fact that our average age is 29 years old. In fact, I was just 6 hours south a little while ago, and that was the first thing somebody said to me, oh, you're in GP. I can't believe the average age is 29 years old. What kind of challenges does that present, and how do we meet them?
Well, you know, it really speaks volumes about the growing opportunity that we have for the future of our community, but in the here and now it means that there are obviously, just as you said, a lot of challenges. As a community, we have to figure out how we're going to support this very young population and what types of things we're going to need to make Grande Prairie a place that'll be welcoming for them. Within that average age, you know, the thing that brings us down, brings our average age down so low, is that we actually have more people from 0 to 4 than we have 65 and over. So we have more people that haven't, more children that haven't even entered school yet than we have seniors, which is a pretty incredible thing. So that means, when I look at that, for me, that means that we need to continue to lobby for investments in infrastructure around education. So that means schools are going to continue to be vitally important. And that's significantly different than other places in the province. You know, we had an opportunity to speak with the Minister of Education. And we said, you know, we need some more schools in Grande Prairie. We need some more schools. And he said, well, that's, you know, that's fine, and I can probably support you on that, but when it comes time to closing schools, I'll have to look for your support as well. And those of us that were around the table went, you're not going to be closing any schools in Grande Prairie anytime soon because they're all completely full. In fact, they're overfull. So that's something we're going to need to continue to be up on, is advocating for more schools. But also it means that things like parks and recreation and bike paths and trails are all very important, because we want to ensure that as these young people get older, that they have opportunities to stay healthy and for recreation. And we know that children and youth who are engaged in positive activities can avoid some of the, I guess, the darker sides of being a young person that you can fall into. So I think that that's going to be one of the biggest things. And then beyond that, if you look, you know, 20 or 15 years out, we have to think about how Grande Prairie is going to be the type of community that they're going to want to be in after they move out of their parents' place. You know, I think everybody needs an opportunity to travel and to experience the world. There's no question about that. But we want to create a community that when you've traveled and experienced the world, you want to come home to, because it offers the urban experience that you're looking for, that it has the excitement and nightlife and vitality that you're looking for. And I think that there's steps that we can do to make that happen.
And when we're talking to people outside of Grande Prairie, do you believe that there's a component of Grande Prairie that we as a community don't champion enough, that we don't hold high enough?
You know, I guess it's, well, there's sort of two ways that I could take that is, you know, are there areas of our community that need more support? And there's no question that there is. Grande Prairie is a community of fantastic wealth. We have our average household incomes are far above the rest of the province and far above the rest of Canada. In fact, I think the average household income here is about 40% higher than the Canadian average. So there are many families who are making ends meet and doing very, very well. What goes often unseen is that there are many families who are just getting by. And I think that's something that we can do a better job of championing. But on the other side, I think when we speak to people outside of Grand Prairie, I think the most often overlooked parts of Grand Prairie are the fantastic cultural scene that we have. Now, we have so many people engaged in arts and culture of all different types. And I think as Grand Prairie residents, we tend to underplay that or undervalue that. And I think that that's something that we could do a better job of recognizing ourselves. So if we're talking about the segment of our community that we need to help lift up so that people understand and see it, I think that that would be the families and folks that aren't on the sort of the end of the financial spectrum where they're seeing that great success, and we need to make sure that people know that. But then as Grand Prairie residents, we need to understand that we also have a fantastic range of arts and culture in the community that we should be doing more to value.
And that is actually something that we're going to talk a lot in the panel that we've got coming up. I think a great example of that was the Alberta Bound and Determined concert that we had. And it came together in just a few weeks, included so many, a variety of artists from so many different genres, and they were all local. It was all well done. The amount that we raised out of that was incredible as well, more than you would expect out of an event of its size. And one thing that was also great about that was that our business community came out and supported it as well. There was booths from so many businesses that in such a short period of time had to pull staff together to do that. How does the business community also help to engage this extra people that are just coming in, these community members that we're working to turn into actual
citizens and residents? Yeah. Well, and you know, that's a fantastic question, because there are so many businesses that are involved in community events. And that's one thing actually that I take a lot of pride in as mayor and on city council. We go to the different functions and events, and there are businesses whose names you see regularly, time and time again. They're the major sponsor of anything. And if I could single one out, I don't know if that's appropriate or not, but Canadian Tire does a fantastic job. You see them as a major title sponsor of so many things in the community. And they're just one of the companies that first comes to mind. There's many others. So they're really creating a foundation and providing that vital support that allows organizers of events to put them on, and then that's the things that bring community together. But beyond that, we also have a lot of employers that support their employees in getting involved. And I think we can't underestimate the impact that has in the community as well.
Well, our United Way reaching just over $1 million last year, and a lot of that through employees signing up for the
the employee deduction program.
Yeah.
And it's great to see. There's so many employers that are willing to go out. And you see, it's the business owner, it's the business manager, and they're going there in front of their employees, providing an opportunity for United Way to come and tell the United Way story. And I think you would find that the majority of those people that are sort of bringing this message to their employees are probably some of the first that are contributing as well. And so not only are they setting an example out in front of the crowd, they're also setting it behind the scenes and leading the way themselves.
And a lot of those business owners also have young families.
Yeah.
And they're looking to build a community for their family as well. And as we spoke to, like, they are an example of exactly what we're looking to.
Well, and that's the thing. When you have a community, as you said before, with such a young population, you find that just about everybody's in the same boat. As a mayor, I end up, some nights I don't get a full sleep because I've got a 6-month-old son that decides that he's going to change his sleep pattern. And for quite a while, I was actually self-conscious about that, until I started to look around and I remembered, Grand Prairie is a young community. These people that I'm interacting with, there's so many of them that are experiencing the same thing that there's no need to be embarrassed. And I think that's one thing that I really enjoy about our community, is that everybody's on the same level, everybody's experiencing very similar things, and that's a real joy to be able to share that with people.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much for your time, Bill. Thanks for coming in and speaking with us. We're going to continue a panel discussion where we're going to talk about exactly that, the separation between the community that sits in Grand Prairie and the extra community that sits on top of that in just a few minutes. But once again, Bill,
thanks so much,
Andrew. Thanks for your time.
Thanks a lot.
What opportunities does Withers offer me?
We offer a fast-paced work environment. The scenery is constantly changing. do you think?
When can I start?
That's your homework. Have a great weekend, everybody.
No, they're from like last year.
And how are you today, Lillian?
Good, thank you.
Have a great day.
Thanks, you too. Okay, guys, change starts here. Break!
Break!
Hello and welcome back to FYI, Grand Prairie's news and information talk show. I'm your host, Andrew Wilcox. A big thanks to Mayor Bill Gibbon for coming in and talking with us today. And we actually kind of touched on a bit of a topic that we're going to talk about with our panel. But before we get to that, let's introduce our guests.
Okay. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Kevin O'Toole, City Councillor in Grand Prairie. Lived here since 1965, and I have a heart for this community.
And my name's Samini Angor. I was born in Grand Prairie in 1978. I just aged myself. And I have a youth project that I do on the side called Ignite, and I'm a single mom of 4 children.
Hello, I'm Peter Lipinski, for anybody that doesn't know me. I've been here since 1972. And about 4 years ago, I started my own business here, helping businesses grow as the owner of Business Innovation Group, and I'm a certified business and executive coach. And just loving the entrepreneurialism and the drive in Grand Prairie.
Well, thank you guys once again for coming and joining us. So this is with the topic that we're going to start this discussion off with. So basically, I've had a lot of discussion with community members and people in and out of town, and some of the transient workers that we've talked about before too, and that there's really kind of 2 Grand Prairies. There's a small community that's here, that's vibrant, that you can walk down the street and you run into people you know. And then there's this extra community on top of that. All of these people that have come up here to work, come up here to make money. Some have only been here for a short time. Some have stayed a lot longer than they thought they were going to. Would you agree with that statement that there's 2 kind of communities to Grand Prairie? And if so, how do we work with that? Kevin?
Well, I do tend to agree with you that there is a segment of this community that moved here with a 2-year plan. They were just going to make enough money because we're oil-rich Alberta, and then they were going to move back, whether it's east or out west, and they fell in love with the community. You know, you can enjoy the outdoors. We've got sporting facilities. We've got the outdoors for fishing, and those of you that like to hunt or boating, there's that ability, and there's such a variety of work that's available here. And then there's the people that are here that are just here to, how would you put it? I guess to get their job done. Maybe it's career-based. They're in the oil patch where the company that they work for has them here for 2 weeks in and a week out, and they can fly them in and out of Grand Prairie. So they do use the facility or use the city of Grand Prairie as a resting place, but you know, their tax dollars aren't going here. They're going back to where they used to live or currently live, and they're just basically resting here and working. Maybe they're at a camp, but they come in here, maybe use the doctor, maybe they use the library, maybe they use the gas station, but they're not really spending a lot of time in Grand Prairie.
I tend to agree with that statement that there is a transient population here. And what can we do to engage the population that comes through is, I think we talk a lot about our municipality or our council doing a lot of things, but I think some of those issues and challenges that we face can be dealt with on a community level. It comes from community people standing up and recognizing what are some of the gaps in this community. So whether it is hosting events, whether it's being doing more cultural events to engage. We have over 100 different cultures represented in Grand Prairie, but yet we don't see any of the festivities for that. So that has to be dealt with on a community level. There's businesses and amazing people and different nonprofit groups that can come together that can do those kinds of things. So I think those are the things that we have to start looking at on that level to enhance the culture and the love and the opportunities in Grand Prairie, because anything is possible here. It's such a beautiful, wonderful, entrepreneurial city, and it just takes a few people to stand up and be able to do that and bring people together.
Peter?
Well, I certainly agree with the statement that there are two communities, but I was one of those guys that came up for 2 years and since 1992, so still working on my math. I think I have a bit of a problem there. But from a business perspective, why do we have a secondary community as transit? Because we don't have the workforce here. And those people that are flying in, coming into Grand Prairie to work are not likely to stay here because they're just in for the jobs. Plus also corporations bringing in people, they transfer them around to other places, banks, et cetera, the larger companies. So you're not going to get that. What we have to do is reach out throughout Canada and throughout the world to get a population to come here that wants to stay here and work and grow. The reason we have that transient group is we have our boom bust cycles, and employers are saying, I need help, and they're just reaching out, and there's people from all over Canada and the world say, well, I'll come here and make a living, but again, I'm going to invest back where I come from unless we have a chance to start showing and showcasing Grand Prairie. And I agree with both of you. They're, great community. I can't think of a better place to raise children. And Grand Prairie is evolving with more of a cultural aspect to it, but it'll take some time, and we need to focus on that to want to keep those people here.
So I think to sum it up, I just thought basically what it is we have a group of people that call Grand Prairie home, and we've got a group of people that call someplace else home. And the idea is to transfer people from calling someplace else home to calling Grand Prairie home. And you made an interesting point in that we do have so many cultures here that aren't represented. But if you were to ask anybody, even in Alberta, there's segments of Alberta, they would not consider this a multicultural city. How do we show people that better? Kevin?
Well, I can give you an example of where big corporation has benefited by supporting their people that work for them. Last year, I was watching a cricket game. Never seen cricket played before in my life. And guess what? They found out that I was on city council, and they said, Mr. O'Toole, can you support us in some way so we can get a cricket field? There was about 75 to 80 people, and we're talking from children right up to the seniors, playing around, visiting, doing the sort of, I'm going to say, family thing. I approached some members on city staff and suggested that we could maybe work something out, and it just happened that timing was very essential. We were able to build a cricket field. I can tell you, 10 years ago, I would have never thought we would have a cricket field in Grand Prairie. Until 6 months prior to that, I would have never thought we'd have a cricket field. We have a cricket field in Grand Prairie. Big corporation realized that if we want to get immigrant workers to come here, to come to Grand Prairie, we need to make them more at home. Sporting event like cricket, where you're from Pakistan, East India, you're talking from all over the countries in Africa and Europe, where cricket is big. The healthcare workers, the union that they belong to in the labs, said we will support this because, you know what, we can bring people in from other areas of the country, other areas of the world to come here and work, and they've got a bond. Mm-hmm. And you know what? There's over 400 people that are touched by the cricket. Who would have thought? It's making people comfortable. It benefits their culture. And we as citizens of Grand Prairie benefit as well. We've got staff that will be here because they love the city. They can relate to this sport.
Peter?
I agree with Kevin, and again, I'll just take the business side of the world. One of the things that I think that we need to emerge in Grand Prairie is a diversity of culture in some of the businesses we have. For example, I'm looking for Greek cheese. I cannot find Greek cheese in Grand Prairie. But as these businesses open up, we as a community need to support them. And you're starting, when I first moved up here, you couldn't find a lot of Oriental or Asian ingredients. Now there's a few stores that are really starting to hold that and build that out. And as Grand Prairie grows over the next 5 to 10 years, especially with the new hospital, I think we'll see a lot more of that coming in, where there's more cultural type venues for immigrants coming into Grand Prairie. That's really going to help keeping people in Grand Prairie. And the other thing, our transportation systems are improving as well. We're not that isolated part of the world, so again, that's going to help as well.
I think it needs to come from, I talked about it has to come from community up, but also top down. Just because I've worked in the nonprofit sector for 12 years, I know that City Council, has signed on to this anti-racism policy that's across Canada. And I also know that there's incredible amount of festival funding available through City Council. So that being able, I guess that being articulated and it known in the community that these are available, especially to people like the Newcomers Association, and even all of these, there's a lot of small associations that have started. The African Caribbean Association in Grand Prairie, like right now they meet in houses, and that's where I found a lot of these cultural groups are meeting in houses. Yeah. I think the dangerous thing about not being inclusive and not being open about what's available to different groups is that people start forming their own subcultures. And so we see that with the youth. We have youth that are going outside of our community or meeting in O'Brien and having these parties. And we don't even know what's going on with these kids. And there's a lot of dangerous things that we don't even want to face that's going on with the kids. And we see that happening in the cultural groups. I remember working for the Youth Emergency Shelter, and I had stopped at the Young Offender Center to talk to a kid who was 16. They had immigrated here when he was in grade 3. He was in grade 3 in Africa, and they transitioned him into grade 5 in Canada. So here he was at 15, really great at selling drugs. Awesome, spectacular, great talent in that area, but couldn't read. So somehow we missed that. But all of these really important cultural groups that need to be formed and need to have the support of being formed would have picked those things up if we had that in Grand Prairie. But that all starts by having festivals that celebrate people. Bringing people together, showcasing food, showcasing fashion, showcasing dance, that's where it all starts. And that needs to come from top down and saying, articulating what's available.
So the Streets Festival could be a multicultural event as well. And I agree with that. I think that when a culture meets in homes, because we don't see the restaurants out there, we don't see their cultures influence on parade, or I haven't anyway. Not that I've gone to parade for a while since my kids grew up, but it's how do we get them to come out of those houses and into the mainstream, right? And do they think we're so just let the cat out of the bag, so redneck that there's a fear? I'm not sure, but what we have to do is really embrace that and create that opportunity for them to come out into the mainstream public and showcase what they have. And I know most people, I've traveled the world, I love seeing what other cultures have, and we've got to bring that out more in Grand Prairie. That makes us more inviting to all those cultural segments.
One of the things that we just finished shooting Ignite, or a few of my youth just finished shooting a TV show with Eastlink. And so one of the things the kids had said on there was just that they wanted to see more for youth in this community. And there is a ton of things going on for youth. There's a lot of sports. There is a lot of different programs through the nonprofit organizations. There is a ton of different societies and little organizations that do great things for youth. but they want to see things that are more inclusive to them. What they felt is that the adults were scared to do it for them. So to throw parties, things that they're interested in, so pop culture, you know, if they want to see Big Brother, is it Big Brother? I don't even watch TV, and I'm in
reality show, Big Brother, yeah.
Reality shows.
Don't be asking me, girl.
How am I heading up Ignite? No, just because I love youth. That's the only reason. I don't watch TV though. But if some of the bars bring in some of these reality stars, why not think about youth and have an event with these reality stars with youth? And you know, if some of the clubs are closed Sunday night, you know, and they bring in some of these celebrities, why not have a meet and greet and then fake mocktail night and a dance for youth? And these are the things that youth have been talking about over and over and over. Sorry,
but
go ahead.
I could tell you exactly why they don't bring that in.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because they don't drink. The kids don't spend the money.
Yeah.
So
from a business perspective, yeah.
You know,
from a business perspective,
it would take,
as a community, this is a sponsorship opportunity for these events to support these kids. I know when I grew up here, I wanted to hightail it out of here as soon as I turned 18, because I felt like that. I know, and I'm still here.
Though.
I have 4 children now, so now I'm back, and it helps that, you know, my parents were the only ones in Canada, so I stayed here because this is where we made our home. Everybody else is in Africa and the Caribbean, so once I had children, this was the place that I came back to. But yeah, these are opportunities that we have as a community. Just like Bill just finished talking about, Canadian Tire does a lot of sponsorship for these special events. But just thinking about it in a more diverse way. But people in the community need to come up and, I guess, provide that opportunity for these diverse events so that there's businesses here that will step up and support them.
and as you also said too, the city has ways of supporting cultural events, and the province through things like Travel Alberta, and all levels of government have ways of supporting community events if they have a positive effect on the community and help youth. So that, I think, maybe is part of the solution, is to make sure that the 3 levels essentially that we have sitting in front of us right now are communicating and working together to find that solution. So to wrap everything up into one thing, how do we encourage that communication so that we are reaching these transient workers to turn it to home?
I didn't catch the question.
Sorry, how do we encourage communication between business, community, and city government so that we are creating these opportunities?
You know, I think, you know, it's interesting. I think a show like this will foster it, because I think there is not a lot of communication between community, business, and government in Grand Prairie. I don't think we communicate as well as we could. There could be certainly that we can always improve our communication. But for one, a show like this, just bringing it out on a table and getting business owners thinking about, well, you know what, there is a way I can add back to the community. Yes, I run a bar. I mean, that's a beautiful idea to have Sunday night, if it's a slow night. Will some bars start stepping up? Canadian Tire does a wonderful job of that, engaging youth and looking after youth. But again, there are other things. You know, within our organization, one of my partners, she works with junior achievement. Right, we're quite a bit about kids and bringing them and engaging them as well. But I think it's engaging the 3 together. But I don't think it's well communicated. Everybody's just kind of doing their own thing or siloed. So.
Do you agree with that statement?
Yeah, I agree completely.
Kevin?
So I'm just going to run a couple things past you. Just last week, I went to the Mighty Peace Day that was held in Grand Prairie. It was 4 girls that took it upon themselves. They went to We Day, held in Vancouver last year. And I got to tell you, the business community come on board huge. In 8 months, these 4 girls and their parents put on one of the biggest things that, as an adult, as a counselor, somebody involved in the city, I thought was fantastic. 3,600 kids that were picked by teachers and educators and school boards to attend a day where they were celebrated as being highlighted in their schools. We had 4 school boards, Peace Wapiti, the separate school board, we had the public school board, and we had the French school board. They all participated, 3,600 children from grade 8 up, and there was speakers from all over Canada and the United States coming up here to inspire the youth. As a counselor, I felt really good. When I become a counselor, there's a lot of things that I didn't think that the city actually supported. I didn't know about agencies and stuff like this. I had my eyes open. That first 6 months, like, wow, we really do this? I've been always thinking this would be a great thing, and we're doing it. For instance, we have a youth council. It's one of the greatest things that I've seen. These young children, we sit down with them once or twice a year, and we say, what's bothering you? And these children will tell you, well, we need more buses. Time's got to be a lot less because their schedule is wrong. You know, I catch on the bus and it's the wrong time. I sit there too long. I got to get up early and there's no reason. So we're working with them. And they have no reason to tell you any lies. They're telling you how it is. And clean up your act. You want to make us happy? This is what you're going to do. You wanted to know? They said that the sidewalks are terrible and we can't skateboard. You know what we did? Mayor Given and council said, we're going to spend a lot of money and make this town a little bit more walkable. We've finished off roads, and I got to tell you, the people of Grand Prairie talked, but the council of the kids, you hear from their heart. And it makes sense. When we engage the youth in the development of the skateboard park at the East Link Center, you know who designed that? It was the kids. There was a presenter that presented some options, but it was the youth of the city that designed that. As a counselor, I was inspired. And I think we're doing the right things. We just maybe aren't seeing it as much as we'd like to see it. So I think we're there, but we need to just improve on it a little bit. So,
absolutely. I think bringing up Mighty Peace Day is an incredible example of those levels working together, of what you can do as an individual community member to create something that's incredible. Another example, I used Alberta Bound and Determined concert is another one where city government, businesses, and the community came together. Mighty Peace Day, I was out there as well. Keith from the KEG, a huge component of that. His daughter was one of the people involved. That I think is a great example, and I think that as we are growing so fast, what we say we may be missing, and it's truthful that we are, is just at the speed, is keeping pace with the speed in which it is and keeping the kids engaged. So I think when we wrap the conversation up that we're having, I think we are definitely on the road to where we need to be. There's improvements that we can bring to it, but as a community, as true community members, I think the best thing we can do is tell people that it's possible to do great things in Grand Prairie. You just have to speak to everybody and you can bring them all together. Would that be correct?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Absolutely. Be remarkable.
Yeah.
Yes.
Remarkable.
This is a very doable city, and the people that reside here are very doable people.
Perfect. Well, thank you guys very much for your time. Thanks for joining us on the very first show. And that's it, guys. Thank you very much. We just have a special performance coming for you in a few minutes. And I want to thank once again Town Center Furniture for providing the furniture we've got on stage here, C.I.A. Solutions, and Dark Mass Productions for putting this together, and the Showcase Center for letting us hang out here today. Once again, stick around. We've got one special performance coming for you in just a few minutes.
at Planet Financial, I'm a member of the Employee Benefits team. We all know that one of the most important assets to every great company is its people. And finding the right people is easier said than done. From advertising to interviews, hiring and training, you make a substantial investment of time and money in building a strong team. But what are you actively doing to protect this investment? Obviously, paying them well is an important part, but what about employee benefits? That's where I come in. Whether you have an existing plan or not, my role is to ensure you not only get outstanding value, but also to help create a truly unique program that sets you apart from your competition. Fresh thinking, honest advice. Are you ready for something new?
All right, guys, that's our show. Thank you very much for joining us for the very first episode of FYI, Grand Prairie's news and information talk show. My name is Andrew Wilcox. Big thanks to C.I.A. Solutions and Dark Mask Productions. As a special treat, just to wrap it all up, we've got Anna and Amanda from Hip Flick Hoops right behind me. Gonna do a little show for you. Check them out on Facebook. Thanks again, guys.